Hello and welcome, everybody. My name is Dawn Campbell. This is the fifth in a series of 5 webinars, special health webinars with the lovely Jennifer Popken. Hello, Jennifer.
So glad to be here. Thank you for having me. And this has been such a joy to share in these 5 sessions. And today is really, today is the pinnacle of it all, actually, because it all coalesces. And each time we've been talking about these 3 pillars. And in this time that we have together, I'd love to really talk more in depth about each pillar, because there are all these nuances inside of them. So for those of you who haven't listened or who I haven't met yet, Colette, Julie, welcome. And Marie, I don't know how you like Marie. And Nalia, welcome. So good to see you. And the 3 pillars that we've been talking about are what I've figured out to be what I would call the secret, so to say, the secret to gaining my health and regaining my health and all the thousands of students that I've helped over the years. And it's about food, fitness, and mindset, right? We all know that these 3 pillars are good, right? If we eat right, we're going to feel good. If we exercise, it's a good thing to do. And then if we have the right, mindset, that everything's going to be good. But it's really the coalescing of each of those things and doing an inventory, so to say, of where we are inside of that, inside of each of those pillars. Because let's say our nutrition is just okay, and our exercise is maybe become redundant, and our mindset is somehow stagnated, so we have these 3 pillars, but maybe they need a little bit of fine tuning, a little bit of up leveling, a little bit of attention, so to say, just like when you have that cupboard. I have a cupboard and I feel like I'm constantly cleaning and reorganizing it, but it seems like it just needs to be dusted and reorganized all the time. And our lives are kind of the same way. Inside of our bodies, inside of our minds, inside of our hearts, and so sometimes it can feel like, oh gosh, there's just so much to do. I can't keep up with it all. But every day we do have to have the patience and create the space and time to check in. So I just want to meet you all real quick and see if you have any questions about what I just said. I'm going to dive in a little more deeply, but I just wanted to see if you guys had any questions about food, fitness, and mindset before we move forward.
Hi, I'm Julie. I'm in Bath in England. And I'm joining to learn more than anything else. So what do I want to gain? Whatever you've got to offer today.
Wonderful, Julie. Welcome.
I just want to soak up information.
Fantastic. Although your accent isn't British, is it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, yes.
It
Northumberland.
is.
Yes.
North.
Yes.
Okay. So that's a new one. I haven't heard it. It's beautiful. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, my name's Nyla, and I've been to all of your sessions so far, and they've been wonderful. I've learned so much through the process, and just learning even today, just whatever I can learn, because I've been newly diagnosed underactive thyroid, and I'm premenopausal, so that mix is not fun for me. So whatever I can learn today would be fantastic, and whatever tips you've given me so far have been absolutely wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, it's great to know. Thank you. It's wonderful to have you here. I'm so glad you've come. Sorry I was late.
No problem.
I'm Marie, and I think sometimes I think I eat well, I exercise, and I meditate, but I don't do any of them consistently. So if I could learn something today, is how to keep that momentum going, because I do it in great bursts and then fall off big time.
Yeah.
I know you do your 10-10-10, don't you? Marie does 10 miles either rowing or walking before 10 o'clock in the morning, so she's pretty consistent. She's not giving herself all the glory she does deserve, actually.
That's hardcore.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I hired a personal trainer for a brief period, and that's what I ended up doing, rowing for 5 miles and walking for 5 before 10 o'clock. So, but the thing is, I only do it maybe 5 days a week. I'd like to be doing it every day of the week, or, I want to keep at it.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, I can't even imagine rowing 5 miles. My heart would feel like it would pop out of my chest, but that's really impressive.
Thanks. Thanks. Cheers.
And Colette, did you?
Colette hasn't got her video on because she's had various problems and everything's a bit of a mess lately. But she's all good otherwise. So Colette, feel free to unmute yourself if you just want to talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love getting to know a little bit about where you are and what you guys are looking for in your health. It's so helpful to know.
Before I forget, Marie, you'll want to listen to Jennifer's a second call in the series, because that was about defining resistance, and that will help you with your motivation, I think, won't it, Jennifer?
Yeah, absolutely. And also be happy to talk with you offline. I mean, it's just like, yeah, it's, we all need support. We all need community. And something that's become really present for me, just personally, in the last few months is being kinder to myself. I've gotten a lot done in my life by being really militant and being on it, and maybe even neurotic. There's this, like, I named actually this part of myself, not like I have a split personality, but I just named it so I could call it out. And I bet all of you have a part of your personality that's like the get stuff done kind of part of you, right? But boy, oh boy, you don't want to be around me when I'm in that mode, because it's like I'm like a drill sergeant. And I've been called that before by strangers, like, whoa, like, what's up with that lady? She's like, it's like, it's as if like I haven't, people even call me superwoman. Like, I have a uncanny ability to get an extraordinary amount of stuff done in a very short period of time, but at what cost? Sucking all the joy out, like I'm mean, I'm destroying relationships. I'm slightly exaggerating, but not too much. And so anyway, I've been in a practice of just being kinder. And oh my gosh, like, it's really different. And so I'm only sharing that with you, Marie, because, 5 days a week is big, 10 miles. And I want to acknowledge you for that. Like, that's big. That's really something to be proud of. And, but I want to dive in first to nutrition, because that's the first pillar. I always feel like the foundation of our health is in our gut. The foundation of our health, like, what you eat, you are what you eat. It's true, actually, right? It makes sense in our brains. And when we look at that fundamental piece of our gut biome and our health, we have to really look at what foods we're eating that are bringing us more life, and what foods that we might be eating that bring us less life. And it's a really simple way to look at what you're eating and to make some choices when you're reaching for something. So, for example, I'm a vegan. You guys might not be, but it's neither here nor there, depending on where you are on your health journey. But for example, if I'm having my tea in the morning and I reach for the box of soy creamer in my fridge, it's going to be a totally different reaction in my body than if I reach for the homemade almond milk. Completely different energy quality. Now, you guys might have some questions about that, and I'm happy to take them, but I just want to emphasize how important it is to eat living foods that come from their source, foods that come from nature. No one can debate that vegetables and fruits are good for you. That's not really debatable right now anymore, right? No one's going to say vegetables aren't good for you. So I just want to encourage you all to increase the amount of vegetables and fruits on your plates, nuts and seeds, and fill yourself up, because hunger is going to come, just like the moon, and the sun rise and set. The hunger is going to come. So you've got to be prepared with an abundance of fresh fruits and vegetables that you love. And if you don't love them, you've got to find ways to love them with whatever seasonings or sauces or whatever it is. You want to just continue to increase the quantity. And people always kind of freak out when they come to my house. They're like, oh my gosh, like, is this all we're eating? Like this abundance of produce. And I'm like, yeah, actually, this is what we're eating. And then they can't believe how satisfied they are when they leave. They're like, how is this even possible? I didn't have a steak, or I didn't have my chicken breast, and I'm laughing just because I love to satisfy people with, loving food. And so part of the way in which we love ourselves is how we nourish ourselves. So up leveling food or nutrition is really nourishment. Like, how are you nourishing your cells? Because when you eat lots of vegetables and fruits and nuts and seeds, you're eating foods that the body can receive really easily and digest really easily. That is, if they're not deep fried, that is, or if you're not eating like a ton of nuts, and just a little bit of vegetables, right? So you do want to have that abundance of green, that abundance of orange and red. And this is such an amazing time of year because like there's just so much goodness. Like I have these apricots behind me. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about those guys. Anyway, you can tell I'm very inspired about food. And I want you to be too, because that is the basis of our functioning. It is how our energy moves. It's how our blood flows. And the more oxygen you can get into your blood through, high vibrational foods that are, gifted by nature. Nature provides everything and destroys everything. Dawn, I'm sorry. But it does provide everything, right? So if we can resource our hunger in the phytonutrients, nutrients that are provided by the sun. Such an interesting concept, right? The way nature is created. The plants grow, they're the leaves, they capture the sun. It's so amazing. They capture the sun and the sun then like transforms into nutrients and then you get to eat that food. So you're eating basically energy from the sun and you feel that. You feel more energized because that's actually what you're eating. You're eating energy from the sun. I mean, it's just so amazing. Food packaged the way nature intended it is so amazing and it will change your life. It will bring your body back into balance. It will help your immune system function more optimally. It will keep your brain clear. It will, over time, help to heal any kind of gut issues you have, because the fiber is going to help the good guys to grow. And so you want more good guys because the good guys can't really grow on the dairy and the meat and the sugar and the wheat. They can't. They unfortunately, the studies are showing that taking probiotics is okay, but the real probiotics that you take are in the fiber, in the variety of fiber in the food that you eat. So if you want the good bacteria to grow, we all know about the good bugs, right? We want the good bugs to grow, then we have to be constantly introducing different types of fiber into our diets. Fiber from squash, fiber from fruits, fiber from all different kinds of vegetables. And so I've thrown a lot at you, and I just wanted to pause for a minute for you guys to ask questions. Or even push back. Right? See, I don't agree with this.
I have a question for you, Jennifer, about the sugar. I'm a high fruitarian, vegan. And there are many days where all I eat is fruit. But I do balance it with quite a few greens in my smoothies, whether it's lettuce or spinach. So I don't eat very much in terms of sprouts. I used to, and I've tried, but I just don't like them.
All of them, or have you tried all of them, or just?
I've tried, as a living foods practitioner, I've tried most of them, and I've made delicious dressings to hide them. And yeah, I can get by, and I might think it's okay. But actually, I feel very drawn to fruit. I think, that was our natural first food. But I do worry about the sugar. Now, I've just had hair analysis, and they said no candida or no parasites. So I was super pleased with that. But I do worry about the pancreatic stress of having a high fruitarian diet. What are your thoughts on that, please?
Well, it's a really interesting point, and it's a very valid question to ask to somebody like me, who has such extensive experience with the Hippocrates Health Institute. And of course, I speak to a lot of people. I mean, literally hundreds of people, all around the world monthly. And some of them are cancer survivors, people who've reversed their cancer. So we're talking about, people whose diet is determining their lifespan. So, the stakes are high in a lot of these conversations. It's not like, oh, I want to have prettier skin. So it's really a big deal. And so I just want to mention the gravity. And I've been involved in this conversation for decades. I also have a bachelor's and a master's degree in nutrition. So I've thought a lot about this question, Dawn. And I've looked at it from a lot of different angles. And I've met too many people at this point who are on a fruitarian diet who are actually doing splendidly well to discount it as not good. Like, Brian would completely disagree, right? He would say, absolutely not. This is not the Hippocrates way. You will not get the results you want. And I can't say from the people I've met enough of them by now. So I do also want to mention that there's a difference between in-season ripe fruit, eating dry fruit, right? So you can also go overboard. There's always these balances. So I'm not going to eat apricots after next month. They're going to be done. Yeah. I won't have them again until next year. Yeah. It's it. I'm not going to eat them dried. You will never find a dried apricot. I can't say never, but you won't find dried apricots in my house. I rarely eat dates. Dates are very concentrated sugars. But when we're talking about eating a lot of fruit or a high fruit diet, it's about what's in season, what's local, what's ripe. And so, what I found, when I lived in Switzerland, it was hard to eat a lot of fruit, because there just wasn't any ripe fruit, for like 6 months of the year. I mean, apples, if you could, pears, maybe, or even the squashes are considered a fruit. I'm a big fan of these squashes. I'm a big part of my diet. And those are technically fruits as well. So I have to say that if you're exercising regularly, and if you don't have a problem with candida overgrowth, and you have ripe in-season local fruit, like I think if I lived in the tropics, I would eat really differently than I eat here in Northern California. And so I would eat bananas, maybe mangoes. Like I rarely eat those because I know they come from thousands of miles away. But when I'm in Hawaii, forget about it. I eat ice cream bananas all day long. It's like ridiculous. But I have to say that since I switched to a higher fruit diet, it is really different for me. Like I feel really differently. My skin looks different. And my colon also is different. Like it functions differently than it does on a high sprout diet, for example. Like I have a lot of congestion in my colon when I eat a lot of sprouts, whereas when I eat enough fruit, with the greens, it seems to even it out. But there's nothing quite like the way green foods make me feel. I have my chlorophyll water here, so I'm constantly bringing chlorophyll into my life because we know that chlorophyll is one of the stars in all the cancer research. It's one of the top 3. So my answer to that, Dawn, is really about being active, also being aware of what's going on in your body. I have friends who've gotten cancer diagnoses and they've gone completely like no fat, all fruit, and they've reversed their cancer. Shocking, because that would go against a lot of the research that I've read around interrupting glucose in the ATP cycles to kill cancer cell growth. So I don't fully understand it. But what I do understand is the magic nature of food as medicine. And the more phytonutrients I put into my body, the more, from its source foods I put into my body, the stronger I feel, the more energy I have, and the more power I have. Like I really have a ton of energy and strength and vitality. And I think that's the biggest word here is vitality. It's like if you eat food that is vital, that has vitality, you're going to get that vitality. If you eat food that's dead and processed and vapid, like that doesn't have any value, it's actually taking energy away from you. It's not giving you energy. Then you're going to see those effects in your energy. You're going to have less energy. It's going to be harder to digest. Your colon is going to get sticky. And I say sticky because it's going to stick it up. It's going to make it harder for stuff to move through your colon. You need a lot of circulation in your body, in your blood, and your skin, right? So the fruits and vegetables solve for that with the fiber. But I don't know, Dawn, if that was the answer you were looking for, but.
I think it's kind of the answer I expected. I think it also means it suits you at a particular time, depending on what you're doing, where you're living. I completely agree. It's got to be in season. I do eat dried fruit. I do have a weakness for it. I have dates every day. I eat a lot of spinach every day, a lot of apples every day. I've got quite a limited range because I don't live in the tropics, but I feel mentally good. Whereas I know if I eat cooked vegetables, I feel grumpier. I feel down.
Interesting. Love that. And that's so
I think it's got a lot to do with what's going on up here.
Sure. And I think at some point we, on Dawn is, seasoned, raw foods practitioner and teacher. And at some point, I think for people like you and me, is we have to kind of learn what our bodies is asking for and bypass the intellect. Because all this like knowledge of what we should do can get in the way of what our innate wisdom is telling us we need, our somatic intelligence, and tapping into that intuitively is the up level.
Yeah, thank you.
So there's always the up level. It just never ends, no matter where you are on the spectrum. That's just my opinion, Dawn. I mean, for whatever it's worth.
Yeah, thank you. No, it helps. Colette, who can't, because she's got internet problems, she just can't make herself seen and heard. She said she lives with a celiac condition, hates to refer to it as a disease, so the fiber and fruit balance can be tricky. She makes her own kefir from goat's milk and water with ginger, so her gut is feeling much better now. However, I don't think I could do veggies, and besides, I live with a carnivore. But so it's a comment rather than a question.
Well, yes, and if I were in Colette's situation, I would consider soups. And so I've had such incredible healing experiences. Gently cooking squash for soups and blending it, gently cooking broccoli and spinach and even fennel and cucumber. I'm sorry, not fennel, fennel and celery, and the healing herbs. And I think a liquid diet can be so healing and a great way to get vegetables into your diet and life. Oh, I love that. Soupology, nice. And so, yeah, I would really encourage that. I actually think that's one of my weight loss hacks. If anyone's looking to shed some pounds, is really making a soup in the evening. It is so satisfying and nurturing. It can be raw, or it can also be cooked, but I love drinking or eating soup in the evening. It is, and I just wake up feeling lighter and brighter and just better all around. Does anyone else have any questions? Fire away. I mean, because I am like so into food, but I'm going to move on in just a second if you guys have any questions. I write cookbooks in my free time. I blog about it. I was on MasterChef season 3 as a finalist cast member. I am like so into food. It's kind of ridiculous. It's my art form. It's my passion. It's my joy. And I just, I think about it, all the time. I'm like, oh, I wonder where we can go collect those walnuts and, foraging. And I'm just so into it. It's just part of the fabric of my being. And I've seen that food can heal and food can harm. I grew up in an environment where Weight Watchers was in my life. I went to my first meeting at age 5. And I spent my entire childhood next to my mom in Overeaters Anonymous, understanding her struggle with food compulsion. And I would say that it's not ever going to go away, right? The compulsiveness around food, but I've completely turned it into something else. And it is so much fun for me to share it. And I really want to inspire people. Like yesterday, I was eating my salad and I was just thinking like, oh my gosh, this is so good. And like, if people knew how great healthy food could taste, they just wouldn't even, because it makes you feel so good. Like you just wouldn't even think twice about it. But it's like, we haven't necessarily learned how to do it for ourselves. And I'm constantly surprised. Yeah, please go ahead.
Sorry, it's such an interesting subject now. That's quite a hot topic, gut health. So what is the go-to? What is the easiest way to start with the gut health? I know you said like, a variation of, fruits, veg, but what is a good way to start if somebody was just starting to think about it? Because I know even just as talking about kefir is a hot subject as well at the moment as well, including kefir in one's diet as well. And I know there's you can get coconut yogurt with live cultures and things like that. So what is a good way to start, and the simplest way to start, and that could strengthen the gut?
Well, it's a really great question. I have been rebuilding my gut for years. I was on intravenous antibiotics in between being on antibiotics every month of my life until I was 20 years old. So you can imagine how destroyed my gut was. And then I had this horrible acne, like all over my face. I took Accutane for that before I completely gave up on the Western medical system. But I just want to share with you that I firsthand have been working on this for 20 plus years. So for me, yes, eating fruits and vegetables is a really important first step. If you can get rid of the chemicals, the herbicides, the pesticides, the fungicides, so go organic at all costs. And eliminate the sugar, eliminate, well, fruit sugar. It's okay, but eliminate refined sugars. We start to eliminate refined flour. So the more you can get the processed foods and chemicals out of your life and diet, it's important, because the glyphosate that they use, which is a pesticide, I think it's a pesticide or it's an herbicide. Regardless, glyphosate is extremely dangerous, and it actually pokes holes in your intestines. So you've got to go organic. Your life literally depends on it. And it's not going to kill you today. It's going to kill you over time. If you look at the leukemia rates, anyway, I'm not going to get into it. I built a whole program for a movie called Secret Ingredients. If you want the most recent research on glyphosate, look at that movie, Secret Ingredients. Very interesting movie by my friend, Jeffrey Smith. So that's essential. Now, I'm kind of hardcore about it. I'll be honest. I take these formulas that involve activated charcoal and how do you pronounce it? Like a clay that actually pulls. So I'm working on taking formulas, and I can make a recommendation. I use the intestinal drawing formula. I think you can get it in Europe. Yeah, bentonite clay. Yeah, there are a couple of different ones, but yes. So I take a marshmallow extract. There's an intestinal drawing formula I take about once a month. I'm just thinking, did I take it last month? And that will suck a lot of the impurities out. And then I'll use an intestinal movement formula. So if you're not having at least one full bowel movement a day, then you do need some assistance with a non-addictive formula. And there's a formula that I use, especially if you have a hypoactive thyroid. You tend to have a sluggish colon that goes right with it, I've found. So I take an intestinal movement formula that helps kind of move things through. So those two things are great to have on hand. And those are from Health Force, the company Health Force. And those are some of the best formulas I can find that are non-addictive, non-habit forming, but really, really powerful and helpful. And I know, I knew the owner when he was alive, and I really believe in the company and their testing processes and whatnot. So it's a great company if you can find them. So in addition to that, if you really want to go a step further and you don't have diverticulitis and you don't have diverticulosis, you could consider even, colon hydrotherapy a couple times a year, or a series of 3, and that'll help to kind of go in and loosen up, hydrate the colon and loosen up some of the debris that's been kind of encrusted on the edges. Like if you see pictures of what a colon will look like over time, you'll see that the debris gets stuck in the folds. And there's like these crusts, just like your pipes in your house, like a crust will build up. I'm sure you've seen a pipe, and how the layers kind of build on the edges. Like we actually need to proactively address that from the inside out. And a lot of people are uncomfortable with colon hydrotherapy or even doing enemas at home, which is an age-old practice. Our grandmothers, great-grandmothers have been doing those for ages. If you're comfortable doing that, I mean, I do them weekly, and it's a really beautiful practice, I think, to help ourselves, move some of that debris. And again, it's about circulation, right? So you've got to be well hydrated. I know it's a simple thing, fruits and vegetables and water, but those are really the essential things just to start rebuilding the gut. And also stomach massage. You'd be amazed at how much excess feces we carry in our gut. like pounds and pounds and pounds of it. And it's a very sensitive area. So many of us aren't comfortable, but I started doing him a bedtime belly massage. It's getting very personal now. It really, really makes a difference. Because it's actually like breaking up any compacted, oh, you use a tennis ball. Huh. I just use my hand. That's an interesting idea, but it really is actually a very loving, nurturing practice to do that. Now, in terms of all of the different probiotics that are out there, whether you're doing kefir grains or you're doing different probiotics in coconut yogurt, most of the commercial things you're going to buy are going to be somewhat diluted. It's very expensive to put, high quality probiotics. Like the yogurt that I like to buy, the coconut yogurt, I can only find in Los Angeles, and it's like $45 a jar. And I'm like, every time I go to the store, though, I grab them. My boyfriend's like, that's 45. I'm like, I know. I'll pay for it. I don't care. I'm just using it as an example because like, you really need to make your own. You really need to make your own. You need to find a beekeeper or somebody who, like has some great strains, and you need to start growing your own. And it's actually really important to grow your own because you get the bacteria in the environment. There's so little research and so much research coming, but honestly, they say that you can't really get that much into your body through the mouth, because your mouth has to go through the digestive system. And it's going to help. I'm not going to, it's not like you're not going to get any benefit. But I just think they're ramping this up commercially. And I just, if you really want to go hardcore on probiotics, I have a few formulas that are professional and they're extremely high level. They're tested medically and they work, but they're expensive, but, and those are the ones that I go to because they're designed to bypass the digestive tract. You can also do, this is going to sound really hardcore, you can insert probiotics, after your enema or your colon hydrotherapy into the rectum. And then you're going to get a different effect, right? It doesn't have to bypass your digestive tract. So anyway, I'm going really, really deep into this topic, but where do you start? Hydration, plant-based food, lots of fruits and vegetables, a lot less processed foods, a lot less sugar, and and start to consider supporting your colon with the movement, right? From the inside out, the outside in. I think that's a way to summarize it. Any comments or questions on that?
Oh, thank you. That was really great. Being of Pakistani heritage, so going to the toilet at least twice a day is really important. I think it's an Asian thing. Obviously, for my parents, when they come here like 30, 40, over 40 years ago, they realized that here in the Western society, going even once a week was like enough. But but like I said, being in the Asian community, massaging the whole body and, and at least going twice a day, it's really important. So, and within our foods, there's ginger, garlic, turmeric and cinnamon and black pepper, like everything there's so many nice herbs that, help as well.
Right. Fenugreek as
healing.
Well.
Yeah. All the herbs and it's like all the foods that they eat actually, as you get older, you start realizing how healing the food is. So I feel blessed that I've got a head start, but it's really interesting what you said about the colon cleansing and plant-based as well. Encouraging that as well. That's really important. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. And and people go into a crisis who can't poop. I mean, you literally can't think straight. No. And your systems are not all on board. So I think, analyzing that for yourself with, honesty, it's like, and you also can't force it. It's like, you can't force the wave on the shore. You can't force that. So it is something. Deep breathing also helps, believe it or not, because the diaphragm is depressing the large intestine. So, I mean, there's a lot to talk about on this, but before we run out of time though, and I welcome you all to reach out to me. We can ask me questions. I have a private Facebook group where we're dialoguing about all things food and health. me see if I can find a link for you guys to join. And then, just reach out to me, have a conversation. It's really a topic I can't, as you can tell, I can talk about forever. But I do want to talk about movement before we run out of time, because movement is such a critical piece for this pillar. If we're doing just enough or not enough or not at all, we really need to look at what we're doing, because we need to have cardiovascular challenge, right? I'm looking for this link. We need to be able to like move, like walking, swimming, like rowing, what you're doing. It's really important to get that up, but we also need to be doing resistance training. And I don't mean you have to go to the gym and lift heavy weights. You could do with your own body weight, sit-ups, push-ups, whatever, wherever you live, you've got coconuts, you can curl those. It doesn't, gardening. I mean, all of these things are actually resistance training, but we do, especially as we age, need to be doing some resistance training. So I just wanted to, and I just also want to mention that oftentimes for us, and I say us because we're all women here, it's like checking it off the list. And I know we've talked about this in some of the other calls, but it's really important that we bring our emotion to it, that we bring our inspiration to it, and that we use it as a channel to move energy. It's been the most effective thing for me. I've done so much therapy, coaching, coach training, mentoring. I mean, guys, hundreds of books, over $1 million invested in this, in the self-development industry. I mean, like the fastest way to get to freedom is movement. And I kid you not. And I believe that emotions are energy in motion. And if we are not moving and accessing like where stuff is living and in the body and stuck, just like our colon, like energy gets stuck too. There are channels. There are just a lot more of them, and they look different. They're not so tangible. Because they're on different planes. They have these different layers, sheaths, as they say in the Vedic terminology. And so I really want to encourage you guys to, just check in, like, how much am I exercising? What kinds of exercise am I doing? And what might I need to fine tune in order to up level a little bit? So, for example, Marie, you may want to consider, doing some, 15 minutes of ab work, arm work, glute work, quad work. It's really important because as we lose our estrogen, we need, really, as we age, we really need to be building the muscle as it attaches to the bone. And I'm a huge fan of yoga, which is a kind of resistance training in a lot of ways, especially as we age. And it's not so much stretching as it is strengthening, right? You can also do yoga postures that are strengthening. Does anyone have any comments or questions about movement? One of the ways in which I find my inspiration is with music. I love to listen to like kind of obnoxiously loud music. Like my phone now has this little notification, like, you're listening to your music too loudly. And I'm like, I don't want to hear that from my phone. No, but they're just trying to protect my eardrums. I know. I'm just saying that, like, like it's important to sweat. Like we really need to sweat, and we really need to like circulate our skin on that level. And when you start to increase your breathing, it also helps your gut, and when you start to kind of get like a little unhinged in your exercise is when you have access. Actually, it's like, oh, I can feel something. Oh, this is uncomfortable, because that discomfort is actually helping you become more resilient in your life. And unless you're kind of getting a little bit uncomfortable every day, you're not really growing. And I don't mean aggression. I don't mean being like militant, like the kind of energy I was talking about earlier, but like when you work your muscle, it burns. And if you back off before it burns, you're actually not going to increase your capacity to be strong in that muscle. Like you actually have to sustain the burn just a little bit. And so getting comfortable with that discomfort is actually important. I'm not suggesting you should be like,
I'm on a webinar.
No, you're not. Anyone have any questions about this? It's really, really like one of the most important things I found for myself in the last I would say 5 years. I've only really figured it out in the last 5 years. I didn't quite understand how to apply it and what kind of magic was available. It's like, I don't have to, I go through my mind, I go crazy. I go through my body, I stay sane, but I'm free. Now I was in a wheelchair for 3 years. And when I was a kid, so like I really value movement, right? So I may value it more than others, but it is a big key to our health.
Marie?
Oh.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, I'm just about the movement. I'm sorry to hear that. It makes now what I'm going to say all the more. When I started walking first, Jennifer, I hadn't got off the chair. I'm office based, hardly moving and whatever else. And I had a suspected clot on the lung at Christmas, and then I changed my thinking, my mindset when I got the all clear. So I went from doing maybe 250 steps to 20,000 steps a day in the mornings. And the thing was, it was funny, you talk about the pain. So there was pain. There was definitely the calf muscles, the arms, the body worn out. And the funny part was I went from wearing Joan Malone to wintergreen and deep heat. So that was the smell around my house. And you had to break through to the next pain barrier and then the next one and keep pushing and pushing. But the sense of achievement is just incredible. It's just powerful. At the end of the day, when you know you feel energized and you've done that, it's just, there's no describing it. Well, it is. People understand when they do it. But yeah, it's very nourishing. I found it nourishing.
That's healing, right? I mean, I love that story. It's a really powerful story. Yeah, it's critical. Like if you're not moving, it's also a kind of slow death. Your capillary density is decreasing, not increasing. There's all this science and research. And there's even science and research showing how it helps prevent cognitive decline as we age. Research that shows how it prevents anxiety and depression and ADHD. And I mean, like Dr. Ratey's book, Spark, is just incredible. Ratey, and the book name is Spark. I highly recommend it. And he goes into detail. He's a PhD, he's a Harvard PhD, and he's done all this research on exercise science and the brain. And it is stunning. I mean, to see how these chemicals are created when we exercise and how different types of exercise, specifically, I'll bottom line it for you, martial arts, dancing, rock climbing, fencing, all these things that require balance. So you have to you're constantly challenging the body in different ways. That's why I mentioned earlier on, like how important it is to change what you're doing. So you got to add on, Marie, something else, or Julie, whatever you're doing, you got to kind of just find your inspiration, whatever it is. I started kind of doing dancing with reckless abandon. That's been really fun for me. Every once in a while. I try not to break out on the trail too often, with my music, but, because I'm like, well, what if they're watching? And I'm like, well, what if they're watching? Who cares? But anyway, it's been a really fun thing for me. But I just want to encourage you guys to really take that on and up level it in whatever way. Like, I noticed like they had this kind of extra skin hanging. I'm like, I don't really like that skin. What can I do about it? Or, I want to feel my belly a certain way, what can I do about it? And it's got to be a combination of aerobic and anaerobic exercise and of resistance training. Not every day, right? But, frequently and consistently. I don't know, 10 before 10 is pretty awesome 5 days a week, right? So give yourself some credit. And then last but not least is our mindset, which to me is actually spirituality. It's our connection to ourselves. It's what we're tethering to, what's going on up here, what's going on in here, and how can we, bridge the two. So often I ask my friends and even my clients, like, how are you? They have no idea. They've been so busy taking care of everybody else. And it's really important that we check in. Just like the weather, like, oh, do I take a sweater, today, or, do I wear a dress? It's like, we really need to tune into the temperature of what's happening here and here. Because it's going to dictate everything. The tone you use, the words you choose, the foods you eat, So they're all working in like a symphony. They're all working and they're making music. And whatever you're practicing, you're strengthening. And so if you're repetitively thinking, I'm not good enough, this isn't enough, I should be doing something else, that's having an impact, and you're getting results, right? So it's really important to be honest with ourselves about what's happening here, and to start, being kinder to ourselves. As I started the conversation, like, really, it's when you really look at what your dialogue is, it's like, oh, are those even my words? They sound really familiar, like for my sister or my mother or my ex-husband. I'm like, wait, that's not even mine. What is that going on? Can anyone relate to that? Like listening in? Yeah. And in the Vedic principles, the first step is like becoming the observer. So if you can just start to look at what's happening in here, and then you can say, okay, this resonates. This feels good. This is, in alignment with where I want to go, with my heart, in my mind. And you could also say, oh, well, actually that sounds like a bully. I don't really like the way that makes me feel. Like, I had a client who bought this treadmill. I mean, it was all drama. She got the treadmill finally, a really like nice one. And she's like, she used it every day for 10 days and then she stopped. I'm like, what's that about? And she's like, well, I get on there and I just beat myself up. I'm not fast enough. I'm not good enough, and I'm like, wow, no wonder. Who wants to, to be next to the bully on the playground, right? She just had such a strong dialogue. So I just wanted to bring that up. What do you guys hear in that for yourselves in terms of a way you can practice into either observing or making a shift that's going to benefit you? I'd love to hear from each of you if you'd be willing to share. And I'm happy to explain what I just asked again, if it's confusing. So either an observation of how your mind and heart are doing, that would be like a practice, or a commitment around how you might want to shift that dialogue to be more in alignment with where you're headed, the trajectory. No worries.
Jennifer, I've just completed 6 weeks training in mindfulness.
Oh, nice.
And again, I find that it's of course it's you engage, everything engages in a lovely way. So I found that very powerful and very helpful to realize and be aware of the dialogue, I suppose.
Yes, the awareness is the first step. And now, what do you want to do with it? Do you want to choose anything?
Well, I do have an exercise regime, that resistance training I want to take up. And also, I think what I'm taking from today from yourself, Jennifer, is the be a bit more kind to myself and realize that I am doing enough. I'm doing enough. I'm good at, yeah.
That's so beautiful. I love that. Thank you for sharing. I'm with you in that practice. Anyone else want to share? Anything they'd like to recommit to, or a practice they'd like to take on? For me, I'm tethering to, that innate wisdom that is all knowing, all seeing, all feeling, and following it. There's a lot of access there, and a lot of stuff I had to clean out that wasn't mine, that I was carrying. So it's really, I want to really honor and cherish that. That's for me. That's my focus.
For me, Jennifer, I at the moment, what I'm hearing, having had a house fire and being made technically homeless for the next 3 months, a lot of people are saying, oh, now sort of 10 days later, you're going to need time. You're going to need to think and recoup and heal and look after yourself. And I'm just thinking, I don't think I need to do any of that, actually. I feel absolutely great. I feel very proud of myself for not being at all attached. It would have been different if the flames had taken the roof and it had gone completely. I accept that. But my husband and I, we've talked about this and we just think, no, we're fine. So we are practicing more and more letting go and listening to our self-talk and being less critical and less judgmental. So I've actually found this experience really quite liberating, that I'm
That's
doing good
incredible.
work.
Oh, it's incredible. I love that. That's so beautiful. And I love your gratitude. You were talking about it earlier in the call, just feeling this immense gratitude for the things you do have. That's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
God, it's incredible. You guys have so much grace.
Just so lucky.
Yeah. It's a great way to look at it. But again, Dawn has these lenses on, right? She's seeing life through these gratitude lenses. She's seeing life, through, I got this and we're okay. And it's different than, being the victim of her circumstances, which she's not. And so it's difficult. It's more difficult when you have a diagnosis, to not feel victimized by your circumstances. But if we can continue to take our power back by taking full responsibility and ownership, it is a great place to be, although not always easy. But anyway, it's been a true pleasure, this series of 5 webinars that we've done together, Dawn. All these topics are near and dear to my heart. And I just love to share as much as I can, because I know this birthright of health and freedom is available to all of us. It's what I believe we're meant to find in our lifetime. And we've distanced ourselves from it because we've forgotten perhaps the cycles of nature. We've forgotten some of the simpler things. And I just love to, be in conversation with women like you and people who are listening, just to remember these simple, powerful things so that we can rise and reclaim our birthright to health, happiness, and freedom.
And it's interesting that we're all of a similar age. I would say, I don't know, 40-ish plus. So, we're ready to hear these messages because we want the next chapter of our life to be, better health-wise than previous chapters. And I would just like to thank you, Jennifer, because your vibrational energy, your smile, and even if we couldn't see you, we could hear in your voice your energy and your passion for food and what you do. It's been really, really inspiring. So even as a living food practitioner, I've learned a lot from you. So thank you.
Oh, wow, I'm humbled. Thank you. So I wish everybody a beautiful summer and increased wellness and vibrancy.
Perhaps just remind us where we can contact you for anybody listening to the recording who either wants to join you at Hippocrates or somewhere else.
I did a culinary institute. Please. Yeah, I did a culinary. So I'm going to put in the chat the Facebook group. You can join. That's the link to the Facebook group. You can join, and then we can be actually in a dialogue.
Yeah.
And then my website is here, so you guys can come. I'm going to be constantly updating that. You can download a free 7-day lifestyle plan there with recipes. And then the Facebook group, has a lot of people who are we're just in a conversation around that, just lifestyle, medicine, and food. And then, of course, you can always email me.
Great.
You're welcome to reach out to me, but you can find my contact and email me directly also from my website. And I just, thanks for mentioning that, Dawn. Yeah.
Well, one of our listeners from an early call, I don't think she was actually on the call because she's in South Africa, but she listened to the recordings. She's joined you at Hippocrates. She's on the online course now.
Oh, nice.
So perhaps if you've got time, just a couple of minutes as to what people can learn from the Hippocrates course and how it will help them add to their skill set as a coach, please.
Sure. We have 2 programs, the Hippocrates Lifestyle Online Program, where you can learn about living foods, and the Hippocrates Lifestyle, which reverses disease like cancer and cardiovascular disease. And we have let me see if I can get the link for you for Hippocrates online programs. And that's It's a 350-hour program. I mean, it's a really gigantic program. It's I think around $3,000. Price changes between $3,000 and $4,000, and it's a commitment. It's a year-long commitment, and that helps you to learn about mentoring, and gives you a lot of information about water and sprouting and supplements and clothing. And I mean, it's totally transformational. So that is one of the programs that we run, that we built. It's got tons of video, and it's just a really rich program. Here's the link to that program so you can learn more about it, where you can download a syllabus and everything. And then we also have the practitioner coach training program, and that's an online program that's accredited through the IAPC&M, and that is with Noble Manhattan. And that is a program where you really will learn about how to coach, because at the end of the day, telling people what to do and how to do it just doesn't work, or it only goes so far. And this will help you get some fundamentals in how to become a coach. A mentor is different than a coach. And so this will give you about 160 hours of education around just how you can make a bigger difference for yourself and for other people. It's a phenomenal program. And really effective at doing that. And then if you want to take that a step further, there's also a diploma program that's a bigger commitment, both financially and time-wise. It's over 300 hours. And that involves, having a mentor coach and really getting feedback that's required to become a great coach. And then you, of course, write more and read more. And it's just also an incredible program, accredited and with Noble Manhattan Coaching. And then I built a culinary institute with Hippocrates recently, so you can become certified as a raw food chef. And that's pretty exciting. And let me see if I can find that link for you. That's a lighter program. It is a $397 commitment and about 60 hours of education. And we just cooked together, there's lots of videos. Oh yeah, thank you. It is IAPC&M. This one is really fun. This is the Culinary Institute, and it's going to be 100% raw. Well, not 100%, but mostly raw food, like 97% raw food, and it'll be specifically geared towards the Hippocrates way, which is rather strict and very regimented, but works. It's a really fun. It's fun to have new ideas. At the end, we have over 100-page cookbook that we created with all the recipes that are in the program. It's really fun to put together. Level 2 will be coming out soon. Literally hundreds of recipes, so much fun in flavor and fabulousness. So yeah,
I think that's the course for me to introduce more sprouts into my diet. I'll be interested to look at that. So thank you for that recap, Jennifer. Very much appreciate it. So as we know, when we become coaches and mentors, we often become our own best client. And this is obviously what we can do when we learn more about our health as well. So we don't just do it for our clients, put your oxygen mask on first, do it for yourself. So thank you, everybody. It's been an absolute pleasure, Jennifer. Very generous spirit, sharing all this wisdom with us. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Be well.
Stay
everybody.
safe, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Keep safe, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.